Hello again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about episodes 7 through 9 of Arcane League of Legends. So, Heimerdinger is no longer the head of the Council of Piltover. Now he has been replaced by Jace and Mel. It's a brand new dawn, and it's a day full of new possibilities. And the possibility is, okay, let's go to war with Zon. Now, they don't go into it necessarily that foolhardy. Jace does still have a mindset of some type of mediation, but due to increasing frustrations going into episode 7, unfortunately, he has decided, you know what? We've tried to be fair. We've tried to be as, understanding as possible. But you know what? Let's try to crack some skulls and see where that gets us, okay? So he's choosing the sword over the pen. Whereas, now, in doing so, he has to become accustomed to something he has never seen before, at least not necessarily up close. And that is, he has to become familiar with the sight of blood. And instantly, he regrets his actions and his decisions. Understandably, there had to be some sort of action on his part, and he thought to himself, okay, let's try this. People think that I'm not a solid, strong leader, so let's go with violence as our go-to option for this. And to be fair, he, as I mentioned, he did instantly regret his decisions here. The dynamic between Jace and Mel was particularly interesting. We learn a lot more about Mel Molodara. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that name. And for a long time going into this first season, we see her as mostly a power player. She's a mediator of sorts. She did have an interest in Jace. Still not entirely sure what her overall intentions were, to see if he was tractable and moldable, or if she genuinely had romantic feelings of interest for him. She might not have moving into episode 7, but I think she does develop those later on, and that helps to balance out some of the decisions that she herself makes. And not only that, but we also learn much more about her family. She comes from a very military background, and her mother, and her relationship with her mother has greatly affected her mindset and where she holds herself in the overall society of Piltover. Possibly as a vanguard for a new type of legacy for the kingdom, empire. I'm not entirely sure what the political position that they have is, but as someone who is possibly preparing the domain of Piltover for her family's dominion of Noxus. And from there, we can see there's a lot more dimension than I was really expecting. And I'm glad to say that remained true to the course from episode 1 to where we are at the very end of episode 9. Now, getting back to it. So, they tried using the hammer. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, Jace instantly was disgusted with himself, and he was disgusted with the ramifications of a crackdown because, with their increasing frustration with the violence coming out of Zon, particularly from Silco's faction, this seemed like we haven't tried this before. This will certainly work, won't it? And it did not take, at least not in the way that he assumed that it would. Certainly, overwhelming force isn't the skeleton key to reform, and Jace learned that the hard way. Now, moving away from Jace and Mel, we have to return, of course, to our two favorite sisters in this entire series, Vi and Jinx. Yes, Jinx, because she has accepted that. She has accepted that this is her lot up to this point. And even though she does have this defining loyalty to her sister. She learns a lot about who she is and who she is to Silco, and particularly she's thought that she was a surrogate daughter to Silco, but she has also learned a lot of very hard truths in the last 3 episodes going into the final act. She's learned a lot of difficult truths, and she is more at odds than ever with her relationships and with her own mind, with her own soul. And from where we began, we have a lot of movement in the area of Arcane that focuses on this organized crime drama that really is the center of the stories of Vi and Jinx. How initially, in the very beginning of the show, they were being trained to be part of that quasi-criminal infrastructure that Zahn has, but do it in a very benign way that wouldn't necessarily harm too many people and would provide them a way of making, of surviving. To later on, where Vi has been more or less kept away, with Silco's knowledge, by the way, away from Jinx. And with this, the drama that has been building up in this other segment, this other storyline with the organized crime in Zahn, and how Silco genuinely believes himself to be a kind of revolutionary. He believes that everything that he has done has a utilitarian purpose for some means of reform. And everything that he's put everyone else through, all of the sacrifices that he has done on other people's behalf, all the suffering that he has inflicted on his own community, all of the suffering that he's inflicted on his ancillary group of fellow gangsters, he believes that all of this will be rewarded eventually with everything that he wants, which is autonomy for his community, as well as a seat at the table, if you will. And from this, I've given away a few things, and for that I apologize, with regards to how these episodes have matured. However, the ending, it is spectacular. It is this distilled essence of tragedy and love and jealousy and betrayal, all in just a few minutes in episode 9. And from where we started out, from episode 1 and building and now into the final act, and the final episode is this phenomenal crescendo of events that, and I've said this before on a few occasions with regards to other series that I greatly enjoyed. You can really tell if something is successful in a series based on your reaction to how one episode ends and how it leads you into the next episode. Well, we only have 9 this time around, but from where we leave off here, you want more. You want to see what happens next. Even if you were given another 5 minutes, what happened? There's so many unresolved plot points. There's so many unanswered questions that you know that it can't end here. Which, by the way, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but if it does, I'm sorry. Arcane has been greenlit for a second season. Surprise, surprise. It's been so well received, particularly by players of the game as well as outsiders such as myself. It's just so well written. It's so well written. What I was initially concerned about going into the last act of this 9-episode season, was that it would just be all spectacle. The series has definitely distinguished itself with some excellent animation and, corroborating special effects. But it is so much more than that. And I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned that too much of the focus would be given almost exclusively to the action. Which I've got nothing against action. I mean, anybody who knows me, who knows my DVD, my Blu-ray library, who knows the shows that I watch, and most folks, if you've seen the reviews of the movies that I cover, I do love action-heavy, films and TV series. But I was happy to see that the drama took priority over the flash and spectacle. Because with this story, as strong as it was, I didn't want it to become just a big laser light show. I didn't necessarily just want it to be oversaturated with debatably mindless violence. Hey, sometimes you're in the mood for mindless violence. I mean, I am a big fan of the MCU. I'm a big fan of a lot of cheesy 1980s action flicks and things like that. So, I mean, it does have its place. It does, As long as you know going into this, well, that's what we're gonna get. At the very end of it all, it's gonna be over the top, and that's part of the appeal to it. But this one, the story is so strong and is so well done, and a multitude of fronts with regards to the characters, their development, their losses, the world building with regards to Piltover versus Zahn, the notions of this is not a half-baked effort. There was so much that went into this. It is so fully developed that it's no surprise that it received the universal acclaim. And I am very glad that they knew what was more important. Do we have a bunch of really good, which by the way, there's still really good fight scenes in this. My favorite of the series so far is definitely Vi versus Sakia. Sakia or Sakiva. Excuse me. One of those. Either way, but their fight is definitely the standout this season, at least in my opinion. But I digress. So, episodes 7 through 9, season 1 climax of Arcane is magnificent. Magnificent! Wonderful. I highly encourage anyone who has yet to see the series in total, please do yourself a favor. It is just so well done. So, I will end it there before becoming too redundant with praise. Have you seen the series? What were your thoughts? Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.